This landed at a ranch at Corona, New Mexico. The rancher turned it over to the Air Force. Rancher W.W. Brazil was the man who discovered the saucer.
What I thought was a star began coming in my direction at a very rapid rate of speed.
The unidentified object, which some sources thought might be a blimp, moved slowly down the Pacific coast from Santa Monica and disappeared south of Long Beach.
I saw a UFO, and it went down the river, turned right at the United Nations, turned left, and then down the river.
UFO classified. UFO classified. No more plausible deniability. Fact, fiction, or the truth. You decide. And now, the new voice of the high desert, the hostess of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes.
Well, happy Friday, my friends. I'm Erica Lukes, and I always love spending my Friday nights with my friends. And as I look into chat, all my favorite people are here. Jeff, Joe, Lib, Northern UFOs, Tim, all of these wonderful people. And I know that there are many of you out there listening who are not in chat. I want to wish all of you a very happy weekend. And I want to give a very big thank you to Northern UFOs, who has been absolutely relentless in uploading my radio shows to YouTube. I think he's done 10 a day. He's just helped me so tremendously, and I really appreciate that support. I love doing this, and for years I have paid for my radio show to have the opportunity to get information to you because I believe it is so imperative. Right now we're in a really pivotal time, and it is up to each of us to turn to good sources and get good information. And I also feel it is imperative that we have the right to decide how we are going to deal with this intelligence. And we could get ourselves into a bad situation if we don't take a little bit more of a proactive approach with regard to this. So I encourage all of you to get active, to get involved, and to honestly, stay away from some of the bantering on Facebook where we're trying to debunk this and that and yada, 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 all of that stuff, and trying to tear DeLong and that group apart, because it doesn't help. Okay. We know this is real. So what are we going to do about it? How are we going to approach it? How are we going to be proactive and do good field research? That is what we have to do. So let's do something positive and make a change. My guest this evening is somebody who I met once at a MUFON symposium, and I knew when I met him that I liked him. He is a good, honest person who does a lot of important work, and we need to understand the gravity of his work because he cares about educating the public and supporting people who have had unusual, anomalous personal experiences, which I believe is most of us here this evening. He says that such experiences may include extraordinary states of consciousness, spiritual, parapsychological phenomenon, close encounters, UFO activity, all of these things. And he has an incredible organization called Opus. And through its educational services and position of neutrality, it provides a safe and a caring meeting place for people and groups with the intention of working together to further our overall knowledge in these areas and to better support people to integrate their anomalous experiences into everyday life. Amen. This is exactly where we need to go. You can read more about this on their experience support page, which we will tell you about. But my guest, Lester Velez, is here tonight. He is so cool, and I want to tell you about him. He's a graduate of the University of Vermont with a Bachelor of Science and a degree in Business Administration. Beginning back in 1970, he served in the U.S. Army as a field artillery officer and is presently Vice President of Lescombe Engineering, which is a silicon-based manufacturer's representative company. He joined MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, in 91 and has held the following positions. He was a field investigator, training coordinator, and field investigators. He was the Assistant State Director in Northern California and chairman of the Abduction Experiencer Research Committee, and then the team of the Abduction Response Team. He presented at the MUFON Symposium in Denver, and then he co-founded Opus, the Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support. He's been on Coast to Coast, Midnight in the Desert, Open Minds, all of these things. And I just want to say, I thank you for being here. And I was telling you before we went on air, why has it taken us this long?
Well, thank you very much, Erica. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
Oh, very good. I never knew about this Skype stuff, but anyway, my partner in the business used to call me a Luddite, which, of course, is a derogatory term about people that don't know anything about electronics.
Well, you know what? I think that we've all had a bit of a learning curve, because when I first started this, like, Skype was, I mean, it still kind of is. I'm just like, oh, Lord, what do we have now? But I'm slowly learning, and we're in it together.
Oh my goodness, it's amazing what technology has brought us. The ability to communicate with one another so incredibly well. We have fake news, unfortunately, and hackers, unfortunately, but hopefully, through all of this, we can cut through and see the truth as to what's going on. And the news of late has been incredible. And so timely being on your show this evening, I'm just absolutely thrilled. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And I feel like with all of the news and things really picking up momentum, that it really, truly is imperative to understand what you're working on and to get this information out there, because, like I was saying in the opening monologue, I mean, we know this is happening. So how do we support people with profound life-changing experiences that are struggling with all of this? How do we come together and decide how we want to interact with all of this? I mean, there's so many important things at hand right now.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things, joining MUFON in 1991, after going to a presentation by Stanton Freeman in San Jose. He was at San Jose City College and presented this incredible, as he usually does, presentation about the government and the UFO cover-up. And MUFON had a table in the foyer, and this was my first introduction to the organization, and I decided to get the journal. And after a while, I decided that was not enough and that I should become an investigator. Well, almost without exception, the cases that I did get myself involved with turned out to be abduction type cases. And these people would ask me, do I know of other people having similar circumstances in their lives? And I said, yes, I do. So the next thing that happened was that I started to facilitate a support group in San Jose. And, well, I tell you what, I learned so much from listening to these people and their experiences, more than you can ever read. That was so dramatic and so impactful that I came away with a feeling that there's more to be done here, because I know there's more people. The Roper organization in 1991 did a survey asking people whether or not they've had similar circumstances in their lives. And the feedback that they got was incredible. There was like 8 million people that have had abduction type experiences. Now that's a phenomenal number. And so one day I was written up in the Monterey Coast Weekly paper in California. And a woman called me thereafter, and she says, I am in contact with off-earthly entities, and I'd like to see what's going on with my brain at that time. So I was interested, but then, I was still at that point somewhat reticent about getting it too involved. But she then said that she was working with an emergency room doctor in Carmel. So right away, I thought of a friend of mine, Eugene Lipson, who has since passed away, unfortunately. And he was interested in getting together with other doctors that were interested in the abduction phenomena and being involved with off-earthly entities. So I called him up and I said, "Let's go down there. We're gonna see this lady." And so we did. And oh my goodness, we had the most incredible afternoon. This woman told us stuff about ourselves that there was no way that she could possibly know. Well, we found out later that she had a near-death experience, and she became very psychic thereafter. One of the things that happened when we went into her home, there was a picture on the wall that was a frame. It was actually a newspaper article. And she's standing, on board this fishing boat or a boat. And so I asked her, I said, "What's this all about?" Oh, she says, "Well, this is the treasure hunters. We're looking for some treasure in the Caribbean." And I was helping them. I said, "Really?" I said, "Well, how did you do that?" She said, "Well, I was in contact with the captain of the galleon." I said, the Spanish galleon?" She said, "Yes."
Wow.
So that was the beginning of that afternoon. So, that afternoon just blew us away. So we then came away and said, well, how can we possibly help these people, these kinds of people? So we decided, and that's when Opus was hatched. And in 1994, we became a 501(c) nonprofit organization recognized by the IRS, with our main mission is to help people having paranormal experiences.
Bless you. I mean, honestly, and just from hearing you recount your meeting with her, and I can tell how much that affected you. And to me, it's that is so refreshing, because I think sometimes people get involved in this just to take advantage of people. And it really is, I hear so many times about people who've had really traumatic abduction experiences or encounters, and they're often like either left hanging, or they are, nobody responds, and, or they're put out there, the researcher, investigator puts them out there and tries to discredit them. And so I think it's really special when, someone like you has the ability to care and to want to protect the witness, because that's what we need to do.
Well, one of the things that, MUFON, Mutual UFO Network, founded in 1964, it's been a great organization. And one of the things that, they basically focused on for many, many years is the nuts and bolts of the UFO phenomena. And one of the things that, for whatever reason, they did not, focus on was the abduction phenomena. However, that has changed. And I'd like to say that I was instrumental in helping that process. And this goes back to one of the things that you had mentioned in the intro, the AERC, the Abduction Experiencer Research Committee. This was funded. The group was funded to do a study, and the name of the study is the Omega-3 study. And what we did was we took 72 abductees and approximately 52 control people, and did a study that basically looked at these people and tried to ascertain, are these people crazy? Are they fantasy prone? Is there some other things going on with them? And the bottom line, and later on in the show, perhaps, I will read you the conclusions of that omega-3 study. But the bottom line, as far as a quick look, is that they're not crazy and they're not fantasy prone.
And I mean, to me, I had the pleasure of working under Kathleen Marden when I was at MUFON with the abduction, with the experiencer research team. And I just have a tremendous amount of respect for her. And that was a very wonderful learning experience for me. And I have to tell you, even now there are times when people will tell me things and it catches my breath. And there's that little split second where you think, how can that be? It just sounds so, it's just a lot to process. But the more of course, the more I learn and the more I understand that this is really prevalent and this can take on many, many different shapes. And the more I realize that, my God, this is so profound. And like you said, there's so many people that have these experiences, and it's about time that we get validity and we get to focus on the people who have been brave enough to come forward.
One of the things that I experienced with the group is that you receive so much information, and trying to categorize it or trying to put it into a box, is very difficult. Even though the experiences that these people are having may be overall similar, the nuances in each of the experiences is very different. Let me tell you about a couple that I had the experience with, that they're both amateur pilots, and they had gone out for a picnic in Butano State Park, which is north of Santa Cruz, California. And it was getting to be dusk, and they started to come out of the park, which is the geography of the park is that it goes uphill and then it's into the Santa Cruz Mountains, and then you come down out of there. So they were at a point where it was probably fairly high in that area. And they noticed a light over the ocean. And this light started to get bigger and bigger and bigger until it was over their head. And it was a triangular craft. And so they observed it. And it went into this canyon behind them. And it sat there for a while. And they noticed another light over the ocean. And this light got bigger and bigger and bigger and came in, and it was over their head, and it was another triangular craft. Well, the first craft, they felt they were observing it. The second craft, they felt it was observing them. And so they backed up underneath this big old pine tree. And so this happened three more times. And these craft were sitting in the canyon doing the old butterfly effect, just kind of moving up and down. And then the whole group in unison went up on their side, so that you had this total vertical line of craft. And then they went around this corner, except there's no corner there.
Oh, interesting.
So at that point, they decided that they were kind of frightened at this point. They came down out of the park, and all of a sudden, they had 3 hours of missing time. They ended up in a restaurant in Pescadero. They have no idea what happened during that 3 minutes of time or 3 hours of time. It's one of those stories that where you say, okay, 3 hours have passed. They're sitting in a restaurant and they don't know what happened. But there's more to the story. And I know we're coming up on a break, so I don't know how much time we have. But
You're good. Keep going.
keep going. Okay.
Keep going.
So, all right. So they came to the support group meeting that I had in San Jose. And they started showing pictures of these rashes that they got. They had gone to a doctor, and he says, well, it was something external. Well, there's a lot of poison oak in that area, mostly poison oak. But he said, it's not that. I don't know what it is. So they went to another doctor. They said, well, maybe it's something internal that's causing this, or an allergy or something like that. Well, when they showed the pictures to the group, almost with exception, everyone in the group said that they had a similar type of a rat. And then one of it happened to be a lady. She said, I know what that is. And so, of course, we all looked at her and said, okay, what is it? It's a reaction to the fluid that they dip you in to sanitize you when they bring you on board the craft.
Wow. Wow. And I have to ask you, do you have any pictures of what the rashes look like?
I do not. And, that is something that to this day kind of, if I may use a term, pisses me off. That I didn't make a copy of it or take a picture of it or something. But no, unfortunately, I do not have it. But it was amazing that almost without exception, everyone in the group said that they had a similar rash.
That is amazing. And it would be interesting to see if you could maybe find a picture that looks similar to those rashes, because it would, then we could throw that back and forth and talk about that, because it might turn a light bulb on in some people's heads, I think, to me, because I as I look back through my life and remember things and have conversations with people like you, it's things trigger and then things start to fall into place. And so that could be helpful for somebody like myself who's trying to figure out everything that's happened to me in my life.
Oh my goodness, yes. I agree.
And I also have to say, there's the music, dang it. We've got to talk about Carmel. But I'm Erica Lutz, and I just want to say thank you to Les Velez, who is here tonight. We're going to stick around because we're going to talk a little bit more about abduction research. The best is yet to come. We will be right back.
Stand by. This is UFO Classified with Erica Lukes.
Erica Lukes.
The phone lines are open now at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More UFO Classified.
UFO Classified
with Erica Lukes on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. After this.
Hello, KCOR radio listeners. Lori and Fenton here from the Fenton Files. Let me ask you, now that disclosure's happened, what does it mean for ufology? Will it change anything? To get the current disclosure answers and learn of alien encounters, the inside of UFOs, the Anunnaki agenda, California UFO hotspots, and so much more, join me at UFOCon 2018 in South San Francisco, California, March 23rd through 25th. Visit caufocon.com, that's caufocon.com, and prepare for the truth.
KCOR Las Vegas.
All the time.
Of course I listen.
I listen all day. It's the best music.
KCOR, the new underground source for news, talk, and music at KCORradio.com. Tell your friends, email them, or Facebook them, or Twitter them.
Hey, are we done here? Because I'm losing my buzz. voice cries out. Evidence that you're not alone.
You said my name. What is your name?
Proof that the living and the dead coexist. Or do they? Every Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, join writer, producer, and paranormal investigator Greg Bakken on Ghost Box Radio as he explores, interviews, and investigates evidence alongside some of the best in the paranormal community and beyond.
6 people killed.
Ghost Box Radio, Wednesday nights exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network, because the dead don't sleep. Ghost Box Radio.
Monday nights are about to become hauntingly good, as Reverend Sean Whittington possesses the airwaves with Vegas Supernatural. Tune in every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern for Vegas Supernatural, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. There's a war raging between good and evil. The question is, which side are you fighting on? Tune in Monday nights as Reverend Sean Whittington sets the new standard for paranormal radio with some of the most influential personalities in the world today. Vegas Supernatural, hosted by Reverend Sean Whittington, every Monday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The one show even the devil doesn't want you to hear.
You're listening to
UFO Classified with Erica Lukes, where the truth isn't hidden beneath the black lines of a Sharpie.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
To be on with Erica, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Radio contact.
Share your thoughts on the show on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Or head over to the live chats at KCORradio.com.
The audience goes nuts.
And now, your host of UFO Classified.
Are you ready?
Erica Lukes.
Welcome back and happy Fantopia Friday. I'm Erica Lukes. I was happy to be hanging out with my friends on Friday night and giving you good information, bringing you the best people in the field. I work incredibly hard to make connections and find people that I really, truly, genuinely think that you need to hear. And my guest this evening is one of those people. Les Velez is an amazing man who started researching this. Well, actually, he had personal sightings, which I want to talk about, but he began really getting into this. And he organized Opus back in 1994 after he had a conversation with a woman in Carmel, and she really rocked his world. So he has been presenting information about this and enabling people who have had profound experiences to come together and form a cohesive support group, which was incredible. And I love that. So you can go to opusnetwork.org to check out more about the organization. And Les, when you left off, you were talking about a couple that had 3 hours of missing time, and they were at a meeting, and you were mentioning that they had rashes on their bodies, and all the other people there said, wow, that looks kind of familiar. So keep going about that. I mean, that is really, it's fascinating, and there are commonalities.
Well, no question about it. I mean, people have talked about, abductees have certainly talked about the fact that they've had, rashes or types of pimples, I guess, if you will, that have shown up on their body after an experience. But the couple that we had at the meeting actually brought us pictures, and most of the rash was in the genital area, which again is something that we've heard time and time again that has occurred. So, is this a factor of being brought on a craft, and you've heard about the fact that the females, the eggs have been taken, and the males, the sperm has been taken, and so this type of thing is very possible that this is a factor that relates to that type of a process. But again, this is all conjecture. We don't have the smoking gun, so to speak, but I think it's something that, because of the fact of that particular session that we had, support group meeting, that other people talked about similar things. And so that in and of itself is a very telling factor, I think.
And I have to ask you, because as you know, and I'm through your personal experiences through working with all of these people, that there's a very, very blurry line between UFO experiences and the paranormal. And for me, I think we need to understand that this all goes together, and we can't just lump things into categories, because we're throwing out a lot of important data. But what are your feelings? What are the commonalities between abduction experiences and quote unquote paranormal events?
Well, I believe that this is all part of a giant puzzle, and that whether we're talking about poltergeist activity, whether we're talking about Kundalini awakening, spiritual awakening, that this all tends to come together in a part of a puzzle that, unfortunately, we still don't understand. There's so much going on right now, and certainly it's been going on for eons. That we talk about the holographic universe. We talk about string theory. We talk quantum physics. All of this. It's part of this incredible puzzle that, we are just now starting to try to get our arms around, and maybe getting a little bit around it. And, at some point, are we going to truly understand the abilities that people have, the psychic abilities, the paranormal abilities that just are incredible, that we can somehow better understand? I mean, it's a very exciting time. I think that we are, unfortunately, with our political situation, that's a whole other ballgame.
Yes, it is. Oh, Lordy.
But, yeah. But be that as it may, if we can truly come together, the things that you bring up on your shows, and our organization looking at these factors, and other organizations like Free that's doing a hell of a job that out there, and I'm sure you're familiar with that group.
Yes.
But the bottom line is that we need to continue to do what we're doing to try to better understand what's going on, to help these people, because the bottom line, and this is basically the mission of OPUS, the Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support, and the support is the big part of it, is to have these people know that they're not alone, that there are other people having these types of circumstances in their lives, these experiences, and that we can, in some small way, help them either understand or become, what's the proper word to use here, become comfortable with what's going on. It is an incredible experience that these people are having. And initially, this is an absolutely terrifying experiences in most cases. Now, I'm not saying that all cases are like that, but in the majority of the cases. And then people go through a process. And this process is a spiritual process where they are frightened in the beginning. They come to accept what's going on. And then when it stops happening, the question that they have often is, why is it stopping? And the bottom line on all of this is that when they come out of the end of this process, the spiritual process, not a religious process, but a spiritual process, that they have a totally different worldview. They feel that they need to understand that we need to be better to one another, that we need to understand that we should not pollute. We should be conscious of not, polluting the water, the air, that we need to preserve the planet Earth in a way that truly changes their whole worldview, which is amazing to me, that from a process that can be totally negative turns into a totally positive experience. We have people on the planet that are negative, bad, if you will, and we have people that are very positive and good. And I think the same thing is going on with whatever we're dealing with, And the question becomes, are we dealing with extraterrestrials? Are we dealing with interdimensional beings? Are we dealing with time travelers? Or are we dealing with the military? Which I tend to believe all those factors to be true.
Yes. Exactly. And I think that that's really important. And for me, and I've mentioned this on the show before, I think it's very detrimental for people to always push the extraterrestrial hypothesis on us, because it's not, hey, we got a lot going on here, and we need to step back before we kind of put that out there and because it sounds like you feel the same way that I do. But I want to just say that I think it is very, very cool that, you mentioned the fact that people go for these terrifying experiences, but yet they learn to appreciate life, the living creatures on our planet, to value things. And I think that we have the opportunity to show that this is a very empowering process that people go through. And I also know that there's some information out there that tries to really put the negative, evil alien agenda slant on this. And, I just want to ask you, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's on purpose to try to scare us or to try to weaponize things? How do you feel?
Yeah, I certainly, based on the fact that I've worked with a lot of different abductees or experiencers or contactees. There's like three terms that you could use. You could say abductees, experiencers, or contactees. But the bottom line is that I think, a la David Jacobs, which is, feels that things are very negative and that it's all bad. And then, God rest his soul, Bud Hopkins, who was, kind of in the middle on all of that. I think he had very positive things to say about it, but also some negative things to say about it. That, again, it's like we're dealing with both sides of the coin. And so it depends on what your experiences are and, what your worldview is before all of this happens. And so, I think we need to have a very open mind. We can't go into this thing thinking that they're all negative or they're all positive. I think could be a combination of all the above. And so, hopefully at some point, one of these groups will actually deign to contact us and tell us what they're thinking.
Wouldn't that be great? And perhaps they are. It's the whole thing is so fascinating. But for me and my own personal experiences, a majority of them have been positive, and I truly feel that there is some sort of guiding hand in my life. And I usually don't go here, but I'm going to, because whatever this has pushed me into the situation I'm in, where I've got a public forum to deliver information. And I feel that all the other people that I talk to have that drive, that they want to get information out there, that they want this to happen pretty quickly, because there is something very, very urgent going on right now with all of this.
Well, that's an interesting point that you bring up, because there's been times in the past for me that I've, said to myself, well, okay, this is it. I'm done. I'm going to get out of this and, just focusing on something else. But it's always drawn me back. I've immediately gotten a phone call or a text message or something that said, hey, I need to talk to you. I need to, have your support, something like that. And so, and this kind of, let me go back, way back, okay, and tell you how this all got started for me. When I was 11 years old, this was when I was living in Connecticut, and this was late October evening, and I was coming in from feeding my dog, Caesar, my buddy. my first pet.
Oh.
Yeah. And all of a sudden I see this whitish, ovalish object hovering over a tree line. It scared the crap out of me, if I may say so. and I ran in the house and tried to get my father to come out you got to see this. This is incredible. This thing is floating over. Well, anyway, by the time I got out there, it was gone. And so he said, well, it was probably just a beacon of light reflecting off a cloud or something, but there was really no clouds that night. And the nearest beacon could have been out of New York City, because I was living in Norwalk, Connecticut, which is like about 45 miles outside of New York City. So anyway, but at that age, I wasn't clicking on that very well. And right after that, I started to go to the library and I started to read books on UFOs, and all the books that I was reading at that point were by George Adamski.
Well, that's not controversial.
Not at all. But, it really affected me. And so, got to be an adolescent, and girls became a little bit more interesting in my life than UFOs, and so I kind of forgot about everything UFO related. Mm-hmm. And so then I went off to college, and later on got married, had 2 children, and then moved out to California. And in 1985, I picked up the newspaper one day, and Stanton Freeman was going to talk about UFOs and the government cover-up. Well, the little switch went off. How these things work. The switch goes on, goes off. And so I said, I got to go see this guy talk. Well, I expected to see a handful of people there at San Jose City College where he was going to speak. And the place was packed. It was like 300 people there, which blew me away right away. And after his talk, which was phenomenal, as they usually are, MUFON had a table out there in the foyer. And so that's when I decided to sign up for the Journal. And after that wasn't enough, I became an investigator. And as I said earlier, I think that all the cases, almost without exception, became abduction type cases. I moved out to California in 1985 and picked up the newspaper one day, and Stanton Freeman was going to talk about UFOs in the cover and cover-up. And, that was something that I said, oh my goodness, I got to go see this guy. And expecting to see only a handful of people at San Jose City College where he was speaking. And the place was packed. There was like 300 people there. He gave his usually great talk. And so as I was exiting the auditorium, MUFON had a table out there, and I subsequently got a journal, and subsequently said that wasn't enough for me, that I needed to become an investigator, and the rest is history, so to speak.
Wow. So, I mean, so you've had this personal experience at the age of 11, and then obviously just like I think most of us all were pushed into this, and it's like you try to go away, you come back, you go away, you come back. But do you feel that that as you've matured, as you've gotten a little bit older, that you have had kind of a heightened sense of urgency, or is that something that's been there through your whole, the whole time that you've been doing this?
Yeah. And again, excuse me if I repeat myself here, but I'm not sure when we got cut off or things, but I've been compelled to do this, and when I've tried to extricate myself, so to speak, I've always been drawn back in. Whether it's been through a text message or an email or a phone call or something where people are looking for assistance in understanding what's going on and trying to understand if there are other people that are having similar circumstances or experiences in their lives. So I feel extremely compelled to continue to do what I'm doing. And one of the things, we talked about Kathleen Martin earlier in the program, and she was involved with me in the very beginning of this process where MUFON has typically been a nuts and bolts type organization, but finally, they have understood that it's extremely important to work with the abductees, because who better knows what has been happening than these abductees? I mean, you talk about Mr. Sparks and the Keeper's book that he's written about his experiences, which is fantastic. I don't know if you've had him on your show, but
no, I haven't.
Boy, he would be a great guy to have on the show. He's had some phenomenal experiences being on board the craft, etc. And corroborating that with another person through some incredible means that really goes to prove what has transpired on board that craft. There's so much in me to say, to talk about. It's like sometimes it's like it comes out so fast. I don't know where to start or stop.
No, I like it. I like this freestyle kind of thing. This is good because there is so much information to get out there, and for me, it's always important to, especially in a show like this, to learn why you're here. Because that is really important. It's the backbone of why you're doing everything that you're doing, and so I love it. I love just your comments and you going for it.
Thank you very much, Erica. Appreciate it very much. The bottom line is that there's something going on. It's very important. MUFON has finally gotten the message. Kathleen is doing a great job. I was, I think, instrumental in the very beginning of getting that all set up. And now they've taken the ball and are running with it very well. And we Opus and MUFON actually in the very beginning had a very close relationship where people would be calling into the MUFON, and then I would be getting the phone calls, which was set up very well. And unfortunately, I didn't think about this earlier, but maybe on another show, I've got a whole group of phone calls that people have called in and telling their stories. And I've blanked out their names and their phone numbers or contact information that might be of interest. Yeah, it's dynamite stuff. I mean, to hear their voices and the feelings that come forth, when they're talking about this, this is not baloney. This is real. This is real stuff that's going on with these people, And
I love that. And I've got to cut you off right there, of course, because we're going to take a break. And I want to just thank everyone for getting into chat, asking your questions. Patty, I will be asking less questions when we get back. Stick around, because the best is yet to come. I'm Erica Lukes on UFO Classified, and we will catch you on the other side of the break.
Listen very carefully.
This is Houston. Say again, please. Houston, we've had a problem.
This is UFO Classified, live every Friday night, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The truth is out there, just waiting to be discovered.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
For more information on the host of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes, upcoming guests, as well as links to the past shows,
visit her website at ufoclassified.com.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.
Now, broadcasting in digital HD radio.
The disc landed at a ranch at Corona, New Mexico, and the rancher turned it over to the Air Force. Rancher W.W. Brazil was the man who discovered the saucer.
What I thought was a star began coming in my direction at a very rapid rate of speed.
The unidentified object, which some sources thought might be a blimp, moved slowly down the Pacific coast from Santa Monica and disappeared south of Long Beach.
I saw a UFO, and it went down the river, turned right at the United Nations, turned left, and then down the river.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
No more plausible deniability. Fact, fiction, or the truth. You decide. And now, the new voice of the high desert, the hostess of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes.
Welcome back to the best digital broadcasting network on the planet, KCOR. It wouldn't be a Friday night if I did not give a big shout out and thanks to Tina Marie, who is relentless at providing a great network. She does a great job for her hosts. She's my producer, station owner, and I just really enjoy working with her, and I respect her tremendously. It is so cool to have strong women in the field, and we need more of them, and we need to empower them. I want to also mention Patty, who had her birthday. Patty, you are wonderful. Thank you for always getting into chat, for sending questions, comments. We hope, all of us hope, that you have a wonderful, productive, and healthy year. We love you. So my guest this evening is a man who has been researching the paranormal, abductions, experiences for many, many years. He is co-founder of Opus, and the mission of Opus is to educate and support people having unusual or anomalous personal experiences. These experiences include extraordinary states of consciousness, spiritual or parapsychological phenomena, close encounters with non-human entities, UFO activity, and also Kundalini rising. And I have to say, Les, you mentioned Kundalini in the last episode or the last segment, and I posed a question on my Facebook page a couple weeks ago. Could experiencers perhaps have some sort of forced Kundalini awakening?
Okay. Wow.
That's a deep thought just to start right off with.
Well, I tell you what, I am definitely not the expert on Kundalini awakening. There are other people within our organization that have that skill set. So the bottom line on all of this is that, and I said this earlier, is that this is a spiritual journey that these people are on and experiencing. And so it's not something that is so different from the Kundalini awakening experience that people talk about. It's like somebody taking you and shaking you vigorously and, putting you into a state where there's other things that come to mind that we just need to understand to oh my goodness, I'm at a loss for words at this point.
Well, and I know that was a pretty loaded question to ask you, and I want to just tell people who don't really understand about Kundalini. For me, because I'm a Pilates and a yoga instructor, this is something I've always been drawn to, because you've got Kundalini energy at the base of your spine, and this energy, if you exercise, if you meditate, if you do certain practices, this energy moves up the spine. And if it's not moving, if you don't have a mentor or somebody there to help you through the steps of Kundalini awakening, you can really move too quickly and it can short circuit your brain. I mean, it is absolutely phenomenal. Carl Jung was dabbling in this, and I think that he has Memoirs and Dreams is a great book by him. His personal journey talks a little bit about that. But it is, to me, when I hear the things associated with a quick, abrupt Kundalini awakening, like feelings of depression, hearing loud sounds, not having the ability to focus. I mean, they kind of ring to me. It reminds me of some of the feelings and experiences of people that come in close proximity to the UFO phenomena or paranormal phenomena. And so I want to throw that out there, because I think that could be an interesting thing to look at.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that, the AERC or the Abduction Experiencer Research Committee did, which I think MUFON should be applauded for, was that they actually funded a research project called Omega-3. And I talked about this earlier, that this was something that was very important to a group of people. Dr. Leleuvre, who unfortunately passed away, myself, and another psychologist, that we felt it was important to work with people that felt that they had been abducted. And we took 72 people. And we had a control group of 52 people. And we gave them various documents to go over, to understand, to respond to, and the findings were really, really interesting. And if I might, I'd like to give you the conclusions.
Yes, please.
Of this study. So the first part, in general, abductees' experiences profile differently than do comparison counterparts on a number of general psychological and specific neurological variables. Yet there are remarkable similarities between the experiential group and the comparison group. It should be noted that in no case did experiencers or comparison group participants show any signs of mental illness or personality disorder. So that's number one. Number two, fantasy proneness does not appear to play a differentiating role between the experiential and the control groups. However, sensitivity to alternative realities and early and recurrent paranormal or psi experiences, PSI experiences, seem to play a role in the abduction experience. The next part is very interesting. Childhood conflict, socio-social tension and abuse and trauma more likely facilitate a dissociative coping style in later life. How much a part of dissociation plays in the abduction experience remains an open question. And this is something that we were in a process of starting the Omega-4 study, but unfortunately Dr. Leluvre passed away. And he was the main proponent behind this study. So this is something that I've been trying to resurrect in the future, and something hopefully now that I'm a little bit more able to, since I retired recently, so I've got more time on my hands.
Sweet, that's awesome.
So how much part does association play in the abduction experience remains an open question. But the Ring and Rosing, 1990, this is a abuse and trauma dissociation pathway, remains a viable descriptive, if not explanatory, principle. So there was some kind of trauma, perhaps, early on that caused a disassociation and dissociative type of a response. And again, not something that would be classified as a psychopathology, but just something that caused you to think differently, basically. Both experience with and interest in abduction phenomena have impact on how one's body is perceived to function, how one views the world and one's purpose in it, and how one defines or redefines one's faith, tradition, and beliefs. In essence, both experience with and an interest in contact seem to change one's sense of self and one's worldview. And this goes back to what I was talking about earlier, where people feel that we need to be better to one another, we need to be better to the earth, we need to be better to, being conscious of how we consider resources, etc. So it's a very interesting fact that we found out in this study. Number 5, abductees experiences believe that there is a sentient, purposive alien intelligence at play in their lives and at work in the world. What the intelligence's goals are seem to be more beneficent than malevolent, which is interesting. So in our study, we found that more people feel they were beneficent as opposed to benevolent, and more benign than malignant. This, though, remains an open question and a point of doubt in the minds and hearts of some abductees' experiencers and some comparison control participants. It also remains a point of contention among abduction researchers. And going back to our friend David Jacobson, or our friend and past colleague
Bud Hopkins, yeah.
Bud Hopkins, yes, exactly. So the brain generally, now this part is really interesting. The brain generally and the temporal lobes and the limbic systems more particularly play a mediating role in the anomalous experiences such as abductions. This in no way implies that abductions are all and only in the abductees' heads. Rather, it points to the likelihood of temporal lobe lability. Lability means it's open to change. As a preset or a precursor to extraordinary experiences, while it would be too reductionistic to claim that the brain creates such experiences, it is not far-fetched to think that the brain plays an important part in the who and what of extraordinary experiences and how they are interpreted.
And I have to just ask you a question here, because you're talking about this, and this is something that Dr. Gary Nolan and Kit Green, from my understanding, are looking into and researching. So have you had any contact with them, or do you know anything about their work?
No. As a matter of fact, I'm glad you brought that up. I would very much, and unfortunately, since I moved from California to Texas, now I'm in the great state of Texas.
What?
Yeah.
There's a shocker.
Yeah. He was Gary Nolan was only up the road from me before. I was living in San Jose, and he's up in Palo Alto. They're supposedly doing a study right now, and they're talking about antenna people. And this is a terminology that's come up before in the past. And so I think that this is something that I would like to dig into more. And there's another researcher, Grant Cameron, that mentioned that same thing. And he's going to be talking at UFOCon in South San Francisco in March. And I'm going to that, so I'm going to try to corner him and see if he knows anything more about that. But they're doing a study.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
No. I was just going to say I definitely would like to corner them and understand better what they're doing.
And that's interesting, because the antenna, the people that are antennas, that comes up a lot. So what do you think that means? Who is an antenna?
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily antenna or a receiver of some sort, because you have a transmitter and a receiver, and you have to have an antenna that transmits, and you have to have a receiver that accepts the transmission. And I've been involved with electronics for a lot of years, and so this new thing of wireless transmission has become a very popular thing these days, where you can charge your phone wirelessly, and you can do a lot of things wirelessly. Like I'm on the internet tonight wirelessly. And so is there some type of a situation where these people are either transmitting, which basically needs an antenna of some sort to transmit, or are they a receiver? Or are they both, a transmitter and a receiver? So there's a lot of questions, and I would definitely like to understand better what Gary Nolan and Green are doing in that regard. And Green is an interesting character. Or I should say person, not a character, he's ex-CIA, he's a remote viewing and a whole bunch of stuff that surrounds him that's very fascinating.
Absolutely. And Hal Puthoff and I mean, I think they're all incredibly important and very, I think sometimes in our UFO community, we try to malign people like that, especially with what's happened with the Tom DeLonge thing and To the Stars, and you just see critics come out of nowhere. But you have to understand the gravity of work that they've done behind the scenes for decade after decade after decade, and they've really pushed a lot of boundaries. And I give them a tremendous amount of credit for doing that.
Oh, absolutely! I think it's fantastic. I mean, if Tom DeLonge's group, the Star Academy, is able to push the borders of our believability, and it's so fantastic. I just wish them the best of luck. I mean, I like to sit back and wait to see what happens. If I can participate in any way or help in any way, I certainly will. But at this point, what these guys know and with their credentials, we should see some pretty remarkable things in the near future.
It's going to be very interesting to watch, and I'm sure that you've been getting the same information that there are going to be more releases as the weeks progress. So this will be interesting to sit back and watch. I did have Ray Hernandez on the show a few weeks ago, probably a couple months ago, and he did mention that this group approached him and wanted to buy the database of free, and to him that was very alarming, and that was not going to go down. So you do hear things on both sides of the coin there. People are especially like Ray and Free Organization, I mean, they're trying to really keep all of the witnesses' identities safe, trying to keep that information safe until they probably know the true motives of people that are operating in this. And I want to ask you too, because this reminds me, before we go on break, back in the day, we know that Bigelow gave MUFON a substantial amount of money to have access to all the data. So with regard to people that had experiences or abductees, what are your thoughts on selling the access to all of that to Bigelow?
Well, let me just say that one of the things that Opus has done is to give experiences a safe and confidential place to talk with other experiencers. We have set up an online support group where people can talk 24/7 with one another. We have well over 100 people from around the world that are experiencers that are talking to one another on a basically a daily basis, and it's totally confidential. Nobody gets in there unless either myself or another person in our organization does a triage on that situation. I believe at this point the most important thing is to protect these people so that until they feel comfortable in coming forward, if they want, and we can set this up where if they feel that, yes, they would like to participate in some other action, then fine. I have no issue with that. But the bottom line is they must be protected at this point in time.
Thank you. And that's so good to hear, because I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think the more I learn about all of this and the fact that data could be bought and sold so readily, it breaks my heart. And so thank you for having the integrity to want to keep people safe. That's really, really important. And we're getting ready to go to break, but I just want to ask you if you know, because there's a question in chat, anything about the AMP or Ambient Monitoring Project that MUFON did many, many years ago?
Yeah, I know very little about it. I know that the bottom line is that it basically didn't go anywhere. They didn't get any definitive proof one way or another, as far as I understand, from the knowledge that I have on that situation. This was a program where they had a device in a person's bedroom or house that was monitoring various factors. And from what I understand, nothing definitive ever came of that. So that's
okay.
what
Thank you. Thank you. That's interesting. And so just again, before we go to break, one really quick question, because I know we've got a couple minutes, but Patty wanted to ask you, with regard to some of the things that you see on people's skin, did you notice, or in all of the data that you've looked at, did you notice that there were any reports of little pencil-sized bruises on people's arms?
Okay, and it's hard to understand, pencil-sized bruises. Now, I'm not sure I understand what a pencil-sized bruise is.
Not a pencil, sorry, an eraser. You're like, a pencil-sized bruise? That's the size of West Texas. Okay. Let me clarify.
Okay, eraser size? Mm-hmm. Yeah, small little indentations or little bruises or triangular.
Little teeny bruises, little circular bruises that are the size of a pencil eraser.
Yeah. Yes. The answer is yes.
Okay. Not the size of a pencil.
No. Yeah, that's a big bruise.
Oh, you know what? It's Friday. It's been a long week. I don't know what to say. So Patty's just messaging in the chat room. She's saying that these are located, the bruises that she's speaking of, located on the underside of the upper arm.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And there's probably more than one.
Interesting. Okay. And is there a place that people like Patty could go? I mean, we know Opus, your organization, this is great. You've got some incredible reports on here. Who are the Greys? You've got Sleep Paralysis by Judy Carroll's really a therapeutic approach, spiritual approach to working with experiences. You've got some really great articles here, but we'll talk a little bit more about that, and then we'll answer Patty's question.
Sure.
I am here with Les Velez. Thank you for listening. We're going to take a break. We will be right back.
Stand by.
This is UFO Classified with Erica Lukes.
Erica Lukes.
The phone lines are open now at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
With Erica Lukes on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. After this.
There's a show that's not afraid to ask questions no one else will ask. Not afraid to say
what no one else will say.
Friday nights at 7 p.m. Listen to Restricted Airspace with Tina Marie, where no topic is off limits. Conspiracy theories, paranormal activities, hoaxes, the unexplained. It's what we talk about. Question everything. Trust no one. Restricted Airspace with Tina Marie. Friday at 7 p.m. on the KCOR Digital Radio Network out of Las Vegas, Nevada.
Here's what happened on the last episode of Three Guys, No Ties.
The book has cartoon pictures of a jihadi waving a Kalashnikov and wearing a suicide vest. It says Osama bin Laden is the most famous terrorist. What? Does the book feature a top 10 then? Is Hillary Clinton on there? This woman needs to be put into a capsule and fired into the sun.
Three Guys, No Ties. Wednesday nights, 7 to 9 Pacific, on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
The Fenton Files, where it's all connected.
You see, whoever controls technology controls the world.
Come explore a universe full of possibilities. Every Monday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. The Fenton Files. Go where no other show has gone before.
You can deny all the things I've seen, all the things I've discovered, but not for much longer. Because too many others know what's happening out there.
Whether it be UFOs, aliens, conspiracies, or even consciousness, your host, Lorian Fenton, has a file for that. The Fenton File. Your journey to the truth is but a file away. Live, Monday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The Fenton Files.
Incredibly intense.
Where truth is just waiting to be discovered.
Friday night, 9 p.m. Pacific. Jump onto the Celestial Highway and travel at the speed of light. Into hyperspace. Hyperspace. Hosted by Solaris Blue Raven. She navigates you through the cosmic tides of mysticism into the world of covert technology, UFOs, mystical sciences, and the world of unforeseen forces.
You get to really sort of enjoy a bizarre ride.
Listen live, Friday night, 9 p.m. Pacific.
For Hyperspace.
The one show that blows the whistle off our government black ops projects. Hyperspace. Hosted by Solaris Blue Raven. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Want to take a ride?
You're listening to
UFO Classified
with Erica Lukes, where the truth isn't hidden beneath the black lines of a Sharpie.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
To be on with Erica, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Radio contact.
Share your thoughts on the show on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Or head over to the live chats at KCORradio.com.
The audience goes nuts.
And now, your host of UFO Classified.
Are you ready?
Erica Lukes.
Erica Lukes.
Welcome back. And I want to say thank you. All over the world, I have listeners contacting me, reaching out to me. It is incredible to know that you pay attention and that you support the show. And again, I just want to give a big shout out to my friend Northern UFOs, who has relentlessly been putting up my show on YouTube. So please make sure you share that, get the information out. I really try to bring in people who are relevant and who can give you good information. My guest this evening is one of those people, and I met him only once, but we definitely need to hang out more, back at a MUFON symposium. Les Velez has done incredible work. He started Opus back in 1994, and he was talking about the Omega-3 study and talking about the 72 abductees and the 52 control people that they researched, and it's incredible. The findings of this are incredible. I encourage all of you to go to opusnetwork.org, check out the organization, the great articles, all of these things. But I have to just kind of tell you that on break, what were we talking about? Not conspiracy theories, the government, UFOs. It was William Shatner. And I'm sorry, but for those of you who know me, for those of you who are Facebook friends with me, you know my love of Shatner. What can I say?
Yeah, and I agree. I agree with you. I like the guy too.
And I just have to say that I wonder, back in the Star Trek days, this is completely off topic, but he, when he was hoisting up the big styrofoam rocks and acting super studly, I think he had a really good girdle, which could, I wonder where he got that, because I could maybe use one.
Spanx for
men. I'm goodness. Sorry. Every once in a while, you just have to have a good laugh, don't you?
Absolutely. I
love it. It's a good thing. So back to your important work.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Dang it! As much as I would like to obsess about Shatner and tell more stories, we gotta get back to the goods here. But with your work in the paranormal and all of this intersecting, and then we were talking. You were also mentioning these antennas and the fact that we have to have transmitters, receivers. This has been talked a lot about by Grant Cameron and some of the other people that are really stepping up to the forefront right now. And so this will be good to know about, like, what makes a person an antenna? Is it their DNA? What are we looking at here? What is your gut when you think about that?
Well, I think again, it goes back to a little bit of what we found out in the Omega-3 study, in that people have had experiences early on in their lives that have opened them up to being able to receive these transmissions, if you will. Whether it was some kind of a trauma or which caused a dissociative ability some way that. And one of the things, we talked about is the temporal lobe opening up to change. And this is something that, we want to investigate in the Omega-4 study, which is something that needs to be funded. And if any listeners out there are interested in, maybe participating or funding something like this, you can go to our website at opusnetwork.org. A more thorough investigation of the abductees' experiences is definitely warranted. These individuals are given both a gift or blessing and a penalty or a curse that allows them to experience what the typical person cannot. They are different. They are special. This study answered several questions, the omega-3 study that is, but offered several others. For example, given the differences in how abductees' experiencers interpret their encounters, are there differences in the character, temperament, and or personality structure for those who remain troubled by their experiences and those who appear to see them as positively transformative? Are there temporal lobe and limbic systems differences between such individuals? Are there differences between such individuals? Since there is a common link among participants in both groups, an acceptance of aliens and of non-alien contact, are there differences between such individuals and the more typical curious or incurious members of the general public? These and other questions must be addressed and answered. Then, and only then, will we be able to discern whether we are in the midst of an omega revelation or an omega revolution. So that was the last paragraph of the study, which, this is the stuff that needs to be looked at, needs to be addressed, and getting back to your original question, I think that we don't have all the answers by any means. And, we're on this quest to try to better understand, not only to understand, but to support these people that are having these experiences in some way, shape, or form. And hopefully, Opus is doing something to help in this regard. So, it's, I have to back up a little bit and just say that, I certainly appreciate the opportunity to be on your show tonight, Erica.
Thank you.
To be able to talk about this topic, because I think it's super important, and the work that you do is super important, and
Thank you.
hopefully together we can penetrate that enigma that's the abduction phenomena, and help better understand what the hell is going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really feel, we all have a lot of interesting experiences when we get into this field. And I've had a lot of negative, but I've had mostly really profound, incredible experiences. And I'm looking at the people that are involved with Opus. And one of the people I see is somebody who's very, very dear to me, Ruben Uriarte. And Ruben has been on the show, but when I was involved as state director of MUFON, he was somebody I would always call, and we still touch base because I just think he is the bomb. He's a good human being who does this for the right reasons, and for all of us to come together and to know that we respect people who have experiences, that we care about the planet, we care about how we are all going to interact with this, and I just think it's a beautiful thing.
Oh, absolutely. Our board of directors, as you say, Ruben is part of that, and I've known Ruben for years and years. We shared a room way back when at a MUFON symposium in Virginia, and ever since then we've been really good buds. And as you said earlier, he was the state director in Northern California, and I was the assistant state director, and we've had many, many, many good times together, and trying to bring the truth out there as best we could. And Laurie McDonald, I don't know if you know Laurie, she's a hypnotherapist and has her own business in Sacramento, California. She's the president now of Opus, and she's done some remarkable things as well. And as all the members of our board are all, really connected with this whole topic and wanting to help in any way they can to make this process easier for people having these experiences. And it's a funny thing, we talk about the fact that we look at not only just abduction type things, but other things like poltergeist activity and Kundalini awakening. But as it turns out, we've predominantly been involved with abduction type cases. And you say to yourself, well, how come that is happening? And I think the need is more pressing there than any other area at the moment. And so therefore we are so involved, with looking at marks on people's bodies and implants and blood types and, things of that nature that are just incredible.
So let's talk about blood types for a second. What are you, give us a little more information on that.
Okay, will do. I'm going to get to that I have a little whoopee presentation here.
Oh, sweet.
I'm clicking through.
I like the sound
badly.
effects.
Okay. So what we found is that 36% of the abductees have an O negative type of a RH. In the world, O positive, RH positive is like 37%. So the negative type blood type seems to be more prevalent. And as far as our eye color, what color are your eyes, Erica?
My eyes are blue.
Okay. So hazel, green, hazel can change from blue to green, etc. And then blue is the next largest factor when we talk about abduction of people that have been abducted. So there's
a shocker.
Yeah, there you go. So, and there's so many factors that, when people say, well, have I been abducted? And what types of things might indicate, do you have any marks on your body at this time?
No, but I mean, and that's interesting because we get lots of reports from people that have really interesting marks on their bodies.
Yeah. Well, we talk about lost time or paralysis in the bed, scars on the body, balls of light or flashes, memory of flying through the air, memory that will not go away, beams of light, dreams of UFOs, UFO sightings, cosmic awareness, strong sense of having a mission, secret feelings that you are special or chosen, unexplainable events in your life or felt strangely anxious afterwards, strange psychic. Well, I don't think you've had any false pregnancies, have you?
Nope, I sure haven't.
Okay,
Thank you for double checking, though.
Okay. Okay. But, there's like Melinda Leslie has done a great job of coming up with, I think there's like 53 different things that she's come up with. Have you had Melinda Leslie on your show?
She was one of the first people that I had on my show, but I want to have her back because my research is kind of, circling around and then honing in on some of the stuff the work that she's done.
Yeah, matter of fact, she's going to be at the UFO Con in South San Francisco coming up in March, and I'm gonna head out that way myself. So if you want to take a ride?
Well, I would love. I just need to find some more people for my business to cover. But I would love to go out there because my favorite thing about going to these conferences is connecting with people and just sitting there and having a cup of coffee and talking about all of these experiences and just it's just such an incredible environment. And I'm really sad I can't go to UFO Congress this year.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, she's matter of fact, in part of my presentation that I do, have a kind of a stock presentation that I do, that she's got a lot of different things that people have come up with, in the course of their abductions that seem to indicate that, yes, you may have been abducted. And so like marks on the body or implants or blood types or seeing entities, etc. But it's an amazing type of phenomena. There's no question about it.
It is, and I think it really does push you down a spiritual path, or it pushes you down a path of wanting to know more. And for me, having had a whole lifetime full of experiences, with each decade, you look at things a little bit differently. And I have much more respect for this now than I did in my 20s, because that was back in the day when I was getting my Ouija boards out and probably pulling the Zach Bagans kind of thing of, I dare you, evil entity, all of this stuff. I understand that there is something that needs to be respected and that it can be detrimental to a person to want to call this in or to want to interact with it. And you have to understand there can be some very serious implications if you do that. So this whole thing deserves respect.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. I mean, one of the things that, we are very conscious of when we bring people on the online support group, which again is a very confidential type of a situation for people, that they respect one another, and that there's no judgment there. People can talk freely and talk to one another and voice what's going on with them and ask questions. But the minute somebody says, well, this is it, this is the only way it is, and you guys are all crazy, boom, they're out of there. There's, we have none of that. And so it's proven to be a very helpful vehicle for people. And I've gotten so many, and people sending me emails thanking me for the ability that they have to communicate with one another, for people that are having these experiences and being able to tell their stories and asking questions. And that Opus has really been, a positive vehicle for them. So, and that to me is just so positive. That floats my boat, as they say.
Well, and it is. It's just some nights I think if you're like me, I learn things, and some nights I go to bed and I just think, oh, this is frightening. What are we going to do? You get all of these researchers that want to take you down, and I think that we should be cautious and we should understand they're malevolent and benevolent. There's a whole smorgasbord of things taking place here, but at the same time, it's like I'm glad that most nights I go to bed thinking this is a really empowering thing. And at the end of the day, whatever happens for me and my personal experiences, this has been a really transforming experience because I have learned about so many different things. I've learned about human beings and their interactions. I've learned about space. I've learned about geology. I've learned about the importance of our planet, and so I don't know. It chokes me up because it's so empowering and profound. And I hope that people who are struggling to come to terms with some of these experiences find a safe place, like you're the Opus, the organization. We can look to communities like my UFO classified community. We're all very respectful and bounce ideas off each other. And that's what we need to find. We need to find those incredible support systems that we deserve.
Absolutely, and that's so positive, Erica. Thank you so much for what you're doing once again. And there's many organizations out there. As your organization, Opus organization, Free, that's out there, and MUFON. MUFON is really trying to do something that they've never done before. And that's so positive, being able to direct people that are having these types of experiences to people that can help. It's so I think that the network that we're developing here, even though we may be individual organizations, the bottom line is that we're out there trying to do what we can to help people, and that's so satisfying and gratifying and helpful to these people.
And it's cool. I mean, I love it, and I really enjoyed when I met you at the symposium. I just knew that you were somebody that I needed to have on the show 2 years later. But B, just get to know, because I really respect your work, and I think it's amazing that you and everybody in Opus has the understanding that this is not, you can't put this in a black and white box. That this is much, much more than that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. There's you look at the news on a daily basis, and you see what's going on, and you understand that most people are just not tuned into any of this. And, the revelation that has just transpired recently about the two pilots talking about their sighting, and the government actually having a program that they spent $22 million on to investigate UFOs. Again, it's like something that comes up and then it disappears. But the bottom line, these people that are having the experiences, it doesn't disappear. It is with them. And this is something that you, me, Free, MUFON, and any other organization that's out there that we don't know about, and I'm sure there's others out there that we don't know about, that are doing a similar thing. And so it is so important that we continue to do what we're doing and to help, but better understand at the same time. And so that's why somehow, some way, I'm going to get this omega-4 study going to try to better understand on a more scientific basis, if you will, which is something that people may tend to better understand, needs to be done in some way. Somehow we'll get it done.
I love that. And I think we will. And this is a really exciting time. I look forward to working with you and getting good information out there. So where can people go to find you and learn more about your work?
Absolutely. Just go to opusnetwork.org. opusnetwork.org. You can contact me through there. You can contact me. You can contact Ruben there. You can contact Lori there. There are many people on our site that you can contact. We have information to be able to contact us. You have a part of the site that you can tell us about your experiences and look for help. We're there to help you in any way we can. And so, again, Erica, I thank you so very much for having me on your show tonight, because I know this is a great show. You guys do a fantastic job. And all I can say is that I hope to be on here one more time, at least.
Only if we can talk about Shatner.
Okay, you got it.
All right. Okay. You're on next week. I'll see you next week. No, it was a great pleasure, and I really respect your work, and I look forward to communicating with you. And I know that people that are listening tonight, especially people in chat, are going to be following you and checking it out. So I want to thank all of you for being here. I hear that music. Stick around for Restricted Airspace. Tina Marie is going to be interviewing Ken Pfeiffer. Have a safe weekend. We'll catch you next week.
Listen very carefully.
This is Houston. Say again, please. Houston, we've had a problem.
This is UFO Classified, live every Friday night, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The truth is out there, just waiting to be discovered.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
For more information on the host of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes, upcoming guests, as well as links to the past shows,
visit her website at UFOclassified.com.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network.